Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first ever Fastcast. My name is James from Games with James, and here with me is SmallKiwi and the amazing Mr. Pete from Britannia.
Hola.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about a few things. I think the first thing we're probably going to get into is the news, as the Top Gear guys would say. And obviously the biggest news is the Tartarus update, which features two new maps, one being an arena map, which is not square at all. It isn't even a little bit square.
It has an overabundance of round.
Yes, it does. And it also has no inventory stations, which can be pretty brutal. But anyway, health regen perks. And the other thing is the loadouts, which is a very cool feature, and I'm kind of glad they implemented that. I just don't know how many classes really are going to utilize that. What do you guys think?
Every single class.
Really?
Well, all of the ones that you could conceivably use in a competition setting are definitely going to benefit from that. I can't think of a class that I would play that I wouldn't have a couple loadouts set up for.
The Brute.
Yeah, not the Brute. He just has no options anyway.
Exactly,
so.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm sure it'll be an extremely useful feature, and as you pointed out, it probably is very viable in comps. But, I mean, like, for the Infiltrator, definitely, and I'm sure for a lot of classes, yeah, but I think there are maybe one or two classes that are a bit barren at this point.
I think No, you first, dude.
Well, I think that's very true, but at the same time, the fact that there are different game modes means that even if there's only one choice, or there's only a choice of perks, that doesn't mean that you can still use those loadouts, because you're going to be going from capture the flag to arena to team deathmatch, and you're definitely not going to play those the same way. So
That's a very good point, yeah. What do you think, Mr. Pete?
I think as you get more and more class updates, it's going to be a more and more kind of valuable thing to have. Because what have they done so far? They've only done, two class updates?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's something that's definitely coming down the line. I can't see them not doing more.
So unless they're operating on Valve time, I can see this, ramping up fairly quickly, and people will get a good 2-3 slots out of at least every class.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
true. As far as we know right now, what Hi-Rez has said is every 3 weeks that we can expect a major class update. So.
Really? It's interesting to see from a free-to-play standpoint where they're going to go with this, just because, obviously the other 800-pound gorilla in the room is League of Legends, and they're doing probably a new hero every couple of weeks. I'd probably say 2, maybe. Sometimes they pump them out quicker, but do you think it's foreseeable that maybe new classes is a possibility?
I don't expect that we'll see new classes. It's possible, and it's way down the line if we do. But for now, I think they've got all their bases covered with the current classes. And yeah, I would expect more than one update for each class eventually.
Yeah, I mean they had to streamline the classes originally, didn't they? Because they had too many subclasses
Yes.
that just overlapped. So I think they've got it in a good place where it is now, and they can only really build on it.
Yeah, right. And I'm definitely interested to see. I love that it's going to be continuously updated and get receive some TLC and things like that. And the loadouts is just a great example of that. And I did notice they are doing like these daily deals now with mines for the Doombringer are half off.
Or the explosive nitron for 96 gold.
So have you guys played any of the new maps? I know I roamed both of them, but I haven't gotten them in any pub games. What about you, SmallKiwi?
Yeah, I got to try out Tartarus. I made some route videos the other day. Other than that, I've played it once or twice in pub games, and it's a lot of fun. Really, really, really like the artwork in it. It's one of the most unique ones so far in that it doesn't just feel like a reskin, like Sunstar actually looks like a snow map when it's in fact supposed to be a desert map.
Right.
But it's actually unique and different, and it looks like a swamp, and it's pretty great art wise. Gameplay wise, it seems like it could be good. I have some concerns about just how open the flag stand is, and how easy sort of back to front routes are for capping. But uh, other than that, I think it looks pretty good. It's unique in that it's got a really flat side that is also skiable, unlike Sunstar, and then it's got a nice hilly side. So both sides are usable in different ways. That's interesting and unique. And it's got great sight lines for a sniper, I think, and that's sort of the only real counter I can see to the great cap routes that we've seen so far.
So do you think it's going to be well received in like a competition setting?
That's really hard to say without having played it. At first, Ring Dance was considered really, really good in competition, and then people have sort of started to come to the conclusion that maybe it's a little too big. It's a little bit too big for the team sizes that are used in competition, and there's definitely an issue with the one
One
entrance for the
entrance. Oh
generator
god,
room.
Mm.
Yeah.
it's pure
So
death if you're going in there. You might as well
you
just kill
know,
yourself.
definitely the community goes through its paces with each map and decides, is this good? Is this fun? Is this fun to watch? Is this playable? So I don't think we'll know for another week or so whether people actually want to be playing it. But for now, it's in the rotation on the new Team Warfare League, so um, we'll be proceeding playing it.
I'll come to a consensus on that pretty soon. Mr. Pete, have you checked out any of the new maps?
Well, I've definitely seen a lot of Tartarus, and from what I can tell, it looks like a lot of fun. I've spotted a few positions on there that would be absolutely ripe for Juggernaut spam. I mean, there's a lot of high spots there. I mean, the flag stand is amazingly exposed. So if you get a Juggernaut, high up on the, I think there's a pretty large tree kind of structure on there, huge roots coming out from the ground that you can perch up on
Yeah,
top of.
it's the home tree from Pandora, right?
Yeah, we've got to destroy it.
Yeah,
And
burn it.
burn it all. But if anyone's got a Merv, they can just control that flag stand, far too easily. But as counterpoint, yeah, you can get a lot of clear lines of sight for snipers, so they can be easily harassed out of their positions.
It's definitely a good switch up, and I remember this is kind of a classic design philosophy is that just if you see one frame quickly, like right in front of your eyes of a map, you can identify it just from the whole color scheme and kind of the ambiance and the mood. And I definitely think they took a step away from everything they've done before, which is very cool. I almost thought from an artistic standpoint it was a bit oh man,
Guilty Spark.
Guilty Spark. That's what that was. Yep.
It's the library level, yeah.
Yeah, it was one right before the library when you first meet the. But anyway, this isn't Halo Cast, but no, I'm just.
It's interesting because it's definitely got. When I look at it, coming from Tribes 2, I see like 7 different Tribes 2 maps. I'm like, oh, it's great because it looks like Quagmire and it looks like Woody Merc and it looks like all of Damnation. It looks all like all of these maps that we haven't
that's
seen
excellent.
yet. So I think it draws more from the artistic stylings of some previous Tribes games. But I'm not a big Halo vet, so I don't know.
Well, hey man, everything's a remix. I don't think that we can really criticize them for. It's obviously not plagiary.
There's only so many ways you can reskin a hill, really. I mean, so
right.
I mean, they've got the volcano level,
They did a really good job on Arx Novena, though. They made a very subtle change to ground textures, but it made a big difference when you're trying to ski on that terrain and you can actually see where the hills and valleys are.
Yeah, that map is very
yellow. It's very
yeah, there you go. That's exactly what I was going to say. All right, so Kiwi, why don't, since Mr. Pete and I are just pub crawlers, and you're really the only pro MLG Pro Star 2012. Do you want to maybe touch on what's going on in the comp scene a little bit right now?
What's going on is CSN. It's concluding this weekend. Saturday, we'll see the matchup from the final 2 teams that are still in the winners bracket, Legion and Deadstop. And on Sunday, there'll be a bunch more matches. Sorry.
Is there anywhere? Is there anywhere that anyone can watch those matches or?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you check out cybersports.net, it's cyber-sports.net. They'll have links to streaming. Aside from that, so Saturday you'll see the winners bracket matchup, and you'll also see some of the teams that are still fighting it out in the losers bracket. Sunday you will see the semifinals and the finals take place. My prediction is that Dead Stop is going to take it, but they've probably got a hard fight for top spot against Team Legion.
That's my. That's no. I think the pub scene is, or the comp scene is really something. I just love watching those games because you see all these things that I've never even thought to do since I'm pretty new to the whole tribe scene. But like punting flags and I don't know, handing off, and it's all very cool.
Yeah, it's not. It's because it takes that high degree of like not only coordination but trust in your teammates to be able to move that flag just as well as you do. So you don't see it in a pub because you don't know who you're playing with.
I think one thing that kind of hampers pub games is the lack of voice communication. So where we've got the the talk board, basically, there's only so far you can get, and it does distract a little bit from movement. Say you're mid-air and you're trying to type out a command. Sometimes it's really distracting.
SmallKiwi, would you say that that's a bit of ambiance almost from the first games, and that it's kind of they're paying their dues with that?
I'm sorry, what?
The VGS system. Do you think it's like?
Oh, it's in terms of from a comp standpoint.
Well, I mean, like they didn't. Mr. Pete brought up that they didn't have formal voice communication, which I think is something. I'm not sure how I would feel about it in pub games, just because you might get a lot of mic spam. But the system that they do have in place, which is better than typing, obviously, because it's such a fast-paced game that you can't really type. But that was something that was in tribe games before then, and the whole Shazbot craze or whatever you want to call it. But do you think that when Hi-Rez made this, they were kind of paying their dues in a way?
I think it's actually a really viable system that a lot of people who are new to the game probably don't fully understand or don't utilize as well as they could. It's got pretty much all of the game related information that you could possibly want to convey is there. You can tell people what you're doing, you can tell people what to do, you can taunt, you can do all of these things that you would probably be doing with voice anyways, and you can do it quickly and concisely and with less spam. You
have to give me a lesson, man. I am terrible at that system. I hit the button, I'm like, what one do I want? And then I have to go through the whole list.
I think when you're first learning it, you do a lot of that, but once you know it, every single tribe's vet came into this game knowing exactly how to use the VGS system.
That's pretty cool.
Every vet, the early beta was comprised mainly of tribes 1 and 2 veterans, and so you heard a lot of really good communication using that system. And I think you just need to give it some time, give people time to learn it, and then they'll be using it just as effectively.
You see, that's kind of why I want to eventually move out of pub games and into more kind of organized games, because I find when I put a command down, everyone just goes, no. They do not have to listen to a single word you say.
That's a pretty good impression.
That's very true.
So it's defend the generator.
I'm the greatest. No, I'm the greatest.
I am the Shazbot.
But
this is taking a turn for the worse.
So I guess the main discussion we were going to get into today, and probably the reason why I clicked on this video, other to hear Kiwi's beautiful voice, is that this class system is pretty new to everyone, at least the way they're doing it with microtransactions. So a lot of people, I think, might be a little bit reserved when they go to spend that experience, especially if they're not going to spend money on the game, and they work for the experience, and then they buy a class. And I remember when I first unlocked the Raider, and I was just terrible with him. I was pretty bummed because I unlocked him with experience. So I guess the discussion we were going to get into today is what is the best class to buy first, or how do you spend those very crucial early experience points. Mr. Pete, what do you think? What did you pick?
When it comes to the first class unlock, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to go with Doombringer because, first of all, the name's cool. And second of all, he's a goddamn Doombringer. You shoot doom into people's faces. It's just an intensely fun class to play. And if you start the game playing Pathfinder, it's a really good kind of other side of the scale comparison where you're mainly guarding the flag, you do a lot of heavy on flag stuff, and it's so satisfying to pick a Pathfinder out the middle of the air with a saber launcher. It's that kind of thing when you see the reticle turn red and you hear that pop as soon as it hits, you go, "Oh yeah,
I would
I am
definitely
the
agree.
Doombringer."
I would
Definitely brings
definitely.
a smile to your face.
So satisfying, and I really would recommend it. It's like it gives you a bit more of a flavor of what the other side of the class spectrum has to offer. Because a lot of people who initially come to tribes will think it's all about speed, and it's not necessarily about the fastest classes. It's also about defense. It's also about what the team can contribute. And Doombringer, I feel, is a really, really big part of that.
It's all about half AFKing, eating potato chips, and just clicking the mouse button until you log on to something.
Yeah, don't hassle the Hoff. Don't hassle the Hoff.
Well, I think, yeah, sure. So if Pathfinder's one end of the spectrum, the skill end of the spectrum, then I think Doombringer is definitely on the other side of the spectrum.
I mean, I think it's a bit unfair when you say, Pathfinder for skill, because leading the target is still something that's a little bit beyond most players, especially new players, especially if they're used to games like, Call of Duty, where it's, hit scan, direct hit scan. With this, you still got to do a bit of leading. You've got to do a bit of anticipation.
And SmallKiwi, what are your thoughts on this?
I love what Mr. Pete was saying about the two ends of the spectrum, because that's really what it is. You've got speedy classes, and you've got the heavy classes that sort of just bring the pain all the time, and that's what the Doombringer is all about. He just dishes out the most damage per second of any other class. If you're good, you are going to wreck people with him, but at the same time, he's not very fast. So
Right.
I
Why don't we
I would definitely.
why don't we take a look at Mr. Pete's video? We all made a video for our classes, or at least captured some footage. I might have had a hand in creating Mr. Pete's video, and by extension, might be a little bit biased. There might be, I don't know. Anyway, let's have a look at it, and let's keep all the things we said in mind. Yeah, here we go.
Skilling spree. Skill. 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 Rampage. Double skill. Triple skill. Multi-skill. Skill.
I might have spun that video in a weird way when you gave it to me. I'll say that much.
But yeah, I find saber launcher, once you plant yourself down in a vantage spot, especially if the other team are using vehicles, it's just a turkey shoot.
Yeah, joking aside, I mean, it definitely isn't extremely easy to lead people, even with the chain gun. I mean, obviously it depends what range, but there is a travel time associated with, a pretty significant travel time, even with something as, quick as the chain gun. So, yeah, I think there's a skill aspect to every class and tribes. I think you could, if you were potentially completely terrible at the game, then the Doombringer might be that class for you. But on the other side of that, I think there are quite a few skilled players who actually play the Doombringer just because he's so effective, and not necessarily because it's easier. It's just he plays a role very well, and yeah, that video gave him a lot of hate, but I don't want to upset the Doombringers because I don't want to get shot in the face with a chain gun. So I guess jumping right into the next class, we can go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum and do the Pathfinder. And that was the class that you chose, SmallKiwi, and you got some pretty awesome footage. As I was going through it, I really enjoyed some of the shots you made. What is your overall philosophy, if you had to explain to a new player what the Pathfinder does?
The Pathfinder goes fast. That is what he does. That is what he's the best at, and that's the beautiful thing about the Pathfinder is you can go fast from the very first time you start playing him. You get the impact nitrons, and those are great for boosting yourself, for knocking flags out of hands. They're one of the most awesome tools that they give you right at the very start when you first start playing. but it is kind of a skill thing. You have to learn to use them. So it's cool because there's sort of this skill variation right at the very beginning, the very first time you pick up Tribes Ascend.
Right. And the first time I played the Pathfinder, I went for a flag cap. I missed it, but I didn't care because I was going so damn fast that it was just cool anyway.
That's very true. But
right.
grabbing the flag is very satisfying, especially if it's against a defense or
right, a good defense,
heavy on flag or something.
Doombringers, for instance, with their shields. So, what do you think is like the most essential thing to get first? So if there's a new player and he really does enjoy the Pathfinder, he's pretty good with them, whatever, but he doesn't know if he should unlock the bolt launcher, or maybe he should go for some of the perks first, or.
I think the very first thing that you should focus on getting are perks, not the weapons. The Pathfinder, the base Pathfinder, is very usable the way he is. If you are close to someone, the shotgun is going to tear them apart. The disc does great explosive damage. The nitron is pretty much the only grenade you need outside of team deathmatch or arena. So if I had to say something to pick, it would either be the egocentric perk, or if you're not really into playing capture the flag, I could say maybe get the quick draw perk, because switching weapons really fast gives you a lot of flexibility in what you can do and what you can kill. Other than that, though, after the perks, definitely go for whatever you like the most, whether it's the bolt launcher because it's got just a ton more explosive damage, the LAR if you want to be able to kill things at longer distance than the shotgun, or the thrust pack if you just want to go fast, like as soon as you spawn, because that's a pretty cool thing to do.
Going fast. All right, so let's take a look at your video. And you didn't throw a tremendous effort into recording this. This was just kind of you doing your thing like you do. And I got to say, it's pretty impressive.
This was footage from mostly one pub game of on Crossfire,
right,
playing Pathfinder.
Fast.
Now this is pathfinding.
But I have to agree with what you said before. I mean, once you start picking up that speed and you find out how to do it, better with your impact nitrons, it's addictive. It's really addictive.
Now you're playing a bit of. I noticed you were playing quite a bit of flag defense in here, and pretty damn effective at it, just because you can, fetch the flag so quickly.
Yeah, the great thing about Pathfinder is you can be everywhere that you need to be because you're that fast and because you have that acceleration. That's why I would definitely suggest the thrust pack, because it gets you there. There's a nitron.
Right.
And it just lets you keep up with a flag carrier, especially in a pub game. Very few people are going to be moving so fast that you can't chase them. So it's a really fun position to play in a pub. It's probably the position I enjoy playing most.
That nitron's pretty. It's very versatile, just because you can use it to boost yourself. You can use it to knock. It's concussive, so you can knock flags away or out of other players' hands.
Like I said, it's one of the items that has probably just got the most utility right out the gate.
This is my absolute favorite shot right here.
Yeah, that was satisfying.
One of those crazy catapult shots that you shouldn't land, but you do. I think a lot of people, at least when I started playing, I looked at all the classes and I was like, oh man, it's Doombringer, oh, it looks so cool. But I think probably a good strategy is not to maybe not give in to the temptation straight away, and kind of, if you enjoy the Pathfinder and maybe spending some experience to unlock things to make them better. I know a lot of the classes straight out of the gate, I don't know, they're just not really as viable as ones that are upgraded, obviously.
For sure. I think the interesting thing is that a lot of the classes that you can unlock, like you said, the Raider, and it didn't blow you away right out the gate. It is one of the most powerful classes in the game for straight up ability to kill things. Nothing beats a Raider. But it's such a high skill ceiling to be able to use the SMG really effectively, to be able to use the grenade launcher or the arcs buster, or to a lesser extent the plasma gun. I think the classes that you start with are really good choices for somebody who's just beginning. I think they were the right choices for high res to give people out the gate. Everything after that is going to be a real deviation from how you've been playing the game in one way or another.
Yeah, I was amazed just how when I did unlock the Doombringer, just how static I became. Just because he's, does not go fast. Even when you try to have a little bit of mobility, it's really tough. Just you deplete your energy so quickly. And anyway, I suppose this is a bit of a mid-ground between the Doombringer and the Pathfinder. Not so much from a heavy standpoint, because he's the heaviest class. I think he starts with the most HP. But he is a bit more versatile, and he is on offense a lot of the time. In fact, probably the majority of the time. And it's the Brute. And I guess my whole philosophy with him is, like you said, Disco Party. But I actually, to be totally honest, the reason why I like him so much is the heavy spin fuser. I'm a total fan of the spin fuser. I think it's just a really cool weapon in general. And the fact that there's so many variations of it, this one definitely has to be my favorite. Probably just because of the damage and the fact that the disc is vertical when you shoot it, but then it curves. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's spinning.
Yeah, it's spinning all the time.
It's like the equivalent of holding your gun sideways.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Kill shot.
Straight up gangsta. So let's take a look at my video. Are you ready, Total Biscuit?
Not Total Biscuit. Yes, I am.
You sound just like him, though, so we might just put his name on there.
Please, by all means, refer to me.
Fan.
Refer to me as the poor man's Total Biscuit.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Brute force. That's actually not me playing. I had to go in a pub game to just follow someone in a cam in third person. This is me playing that. So. Llama grab almost. Damn near.
Ooh.
And those heavy blue plates are probably the most satisfying blue plates.
Oh god, they're so good. That's why I put so many of them in.
This is a really good example of like how awesome a brute is indoors, though. They're all about area denial, and so many of the indoor sections on the maps are pretty small and confined, and those discos are just murder.
And my favorite thing about the fractal grenade is it's like the ghost killer. You almost never see yourself getting the kill. You'll just toss it and then you'll be like, oh, I got a double kill.
I say once a disco party. Once a disco party gets started, you just never want to leave.
No, right.
Now look at this guy. You think he's gonna run away, but no.
And then I dropped in on this fool. Didn't even expect me. So I kind of tried to play up the versatility, but to be honest, you'll probably be doing one of two things when you're playing the Brute. Defending, which I don't know how effective he really is, because the fractal grenades are more of, it is area denial, as opposed to like knocking flags away and things like that. But I think probably the main thing is generator harassment, and indoors he is totally brutal.
I mean, harassment in general seems to be the name of the Brute game.
Yeah.
You'd actually be surprised at, especially on maps with a small flag stand like Rain Dance, for example, it is kind of an effective strategy to just go all out with the Brute on a grab cycle, fly at the flag stand, throw down some discos, and get yourself killed. But it doesn't matter because the flag stand is now like untenable by the defense. So.
Right. It's almost like having a little tiny orbital strike in your pocket, or 3 of them anyway. But I think safety third is a completely necessary perk.
Definitely.
That is what I would run with it.
Right. This is just more of a playstyle thing, but I definitely like potential energy with, fully upgraded, just because, I don't know. I'm kind of the guy who, if I fight someone 1v1 and I lose, I'm really pissed and I go find him again and kill him. So I do like kind of dueling, and potential energy is just made for dueling. The fact that you can absorb AoE damage and turn it into energy is amazing.
It really lets you go really fast and lets you get a lot higher than you could with the Brute otherwise. It's not a bad choice.
This game's all about getting high.
I mean, speaking of dueling, I mean, when it comes to heavy on heavy dueling, the Brute tends to win 9 times out of 10. It's that kind of thing. If I see a Brute, I'm like, oh god damn it, I'll just go grab another drink.
I would go as far to say that a lot of people see the Brute on the unlock list and they see that he's one of the most, I think he is tied for the most expensive. Or maybe it might just be straight up the most expensive. It's 18,000, I think, experience to unlock him. But, they see the Doombringer right above him, and that's a pretty commonly played class. I would venture to say that in pub games, Brute is by far the least played class.
It's the least played overall for sure.
Yeah.
You almost never see a Brute in competitive play.
Right.
It seems to be a really poorly understood class in public games. It's kind of funny. I was trying to record some footage for just anything in general, and most of the time I couldn't even find Doombringer or Brute.
I know, man. There's a few Doombringer.
Really weird.
I think people understand the Doombringer. He's got the chain gun. He's very defensive. He's got the if you unlock the mines, he is a complete defensive powerhouse because you can just toss down the wall, the mines. You have your javelin or your saber launcher, the chain gun, and I think he's pretty easy to understand. The Brute is like, well, he's got a spin fuser. The only thing the first time I really understood a Brute was I saw what I thought was like a Doombringer or maybe a Juggernaut going into the generator room on Rain Dance. And I followed him in, and I got killed because he just, that's the thing you do when you play a Brute. As soon as you're entering a generator room, you just toss a fractal grenade down just in case someone followed you.
Yep.
And I was like, well, that's random, but it's not random at all. That was, how the Brute is played, and he's really one of my favorite classes just because I just love harassing people and pretty tough to kill too. Obviously, there are some Pathfinders that come up and dance all over me. But a lot of the times I can kill the pub ones.
Yeah, I'd say his only weakness is like long range fighting. He doesn't even with the Nova Colt, the unlockable secondary weapon. Even with that, he's really outmatched outdoors at any kind of a distance.
Definitely.
So if you can keep them at sort of a medium to short range, you're gonna dominate them. But
right.
Other than that, you might have difficulties. So
no, the Nova Colt, it's fun, but it's all about. For me, the Nova Colt is what I roll with in like my optimal build of him. But it's just for if you hit a guy with, I don't know, like a raider with a direct hit of a heavy spin fuser, and he's only got a little bit of health left. That's what it's all about. It's just finishing him off. So
softening them up
right
as they come at you. But
I wanted to ask you how you say that he's almost never in competitive games. How viable is he as a class compared to the other classes?
Most people would tell you that he's not viable at all. I don't want to think of him as totally unviable. I think he's got a very specific role. I think most of the other classes have more flexibility, and that's why you see them played more. Even for roles like, generator offense, that kind of thing, there's more flexibility in a Doombringer or not a Doombringer, sorry, in a Juggernaut, because he's able to dish out more damage in a shorter period of time.
Right. Yeah.
And he can do area denial with the mortar or with the Merv launcher. So
it's pretty crazy because I don't know, when I played him, like the thing that I felt like I was made for was generator harassment, and yet it took me like, I don't know, when you saw me get that double kill with a fractal where I wasn't looking, I ended up killing that generator, but I was probably there for 30, 40 seconds. It's obscene. So what do you think is, I think that if they were going to update the Brute to make him more viable, I think maybe his offhand could get some kind of mini Arcs Buster or something like that.
I think actually if you're going to play, so the other thing that I think he's really good for, and the reason you don't see it in competitive play is because nobody plays this role, but generator defense, he is absolutely amazing at that role.
I suppose he would be, wouldn't he?
He can just totally cut off entrances with those fractals. If he's playing defense, he has access to an inventory station, so he can keep himself stocked with fractals at all times. He's really designed for that generator defense role. I think that's sort of what they were going for when they made him. And he can do offense okay. He's just kind of outclassed right now by the Juggernaut.
Well, what do you think about like the technician though? I mean, he's obviously made for defense in general, but I think generator defense it's pretty strong. But I guess he is kind of squishy.
He's a little bit squishy, and he's very kind of dependent on either motion sensors or turrets or both. Whereas the Brute can absorb the damage himself. He's got that shield pack. He's he's sort of designed to be in there toe to toe, whereas the technician is sort of designed to be in more than one place. So he can be on the flag stand and also help keep his generator alive. So
Right.
I see the technician as more of a swing position between defending the generators, defending the flag, and the brute sort of he's not really going to be outdoors fighting anyone.
Yeah, because you can't
Put him
really
down
chase
each
anyone, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, but that, I mean, so even if there is a place for him in comp games, it's like one person maximum, probably, on the team.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'd be interested to see how high res, I mean, I'm sure they're aware of that, but he definitely doesn't need a buff, because he is pretty powerful. It's just maybe a bit of a tweak that, not a tweak, but, they'll obviously give him new guns at some point, and I would be curious to see if a few of those guns, because if you had like an Arcs Buster with the fractal grenades, it would be very good for generator offense.
Mm-hmm. I have 2 really good tips for brute players. One, get used to playing with grav cycles. They are your best friend. They're going to get you around really fast. They are another however much health on top of whatever your health pool is, 1300. So get used to playing with the grav cycle. Use it as a tool. Use the damage that the little burst shots can do, and ram it into things. If you're coming up against a tank, one of the best things to kill a tank is a brute on a grav cycle. He can shoot the tank with the grav cycle. He can ram the tank with the grav cycle. He can jump off, and now he's got one of the best weapons in the game for dealing with the tank in the heavy spin.
Right.
And the other really good strategy is to use that grav cycle to get yourself quickly over to the enemy flag stand and clear it with fractals. It's like the best thing you can do.
Right. So anyway, I think that about wraps up the conversation, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and I really hope to see everybody again. I want to thank SmallKiwi and Mr. Pete for joining me this week, and I definitely hope to see them again. Got some great discussion in there.
No problem. I've enjoyed the hell out of it.
Closing remarks, SmallKiwi?
Can I get a autograph from Total Biscuit?
He's your bro, right? He's Total Biscuit is like your best friend. You guys hang out all the time.
Oh yeah, we know everyone here. We all live like next door to each other.
Simon and Lewis you're all in like a little shared flat.
Yeah, I mean
flat.
Well, I'm on the top floor. I'm sure someone's got to live in the basement.
Oh, I see how it is.
I bet it would be Simon. All right, say goodbye to the nice people, Mr. Pete.
Good night, nice people.
Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you next time on Fastcast.
Oh, yeah.
See ya.